everyone, how's it going? Hope you're having a good week so far. Bella, stop. Before we get started, if you've noticed the camera shaking, one of my cats, Bella, is down there scratching her face on the tripod. I always bring home the weirdest pets. But anyway, today I thought I'd sit in front of the camera and tell you all why Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is my favorite horror movie of all time. And I know some of the people that have been watching my channel for a while are probably rolling their eyes thinking, oh my god, he's going to tell this story again. Yes, I am. And you'll like it. But, to get into why it's my favorite horror movie of all time, we kind of have to go back before I was a horror fan. Because I was, believe it or not, I wasn't. I absolutely despise the thought of watching horror movies. Every time I see the VHS box art for a horror movie, I would instantly become disgusted and grossed out, and I didn't want any part of it. I specifically remember when I lived in Italy, and I might do a video talking about my memories of living in Italy. We had a video rental store down the road from the apartment buildings we were living in, and they had a horror section that was right in the corner. And for some reason, you get to the horror section, and I swear, maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but I remember just that one corner, only in the horror section, it had this musty, funky smell to it. Just like this evil smell to it. I got bad vibes being in that corner. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but you gotta think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and that corner was just... that was bad news, man. That was the bad section of town right there. It had that musty, funky smell. It just felt evil. And back then, the box art for these movies, seeing the horror villains, they were absolutely repulsive and disgusting to me, man. They scared the hell out of me. They grossed me out. They made me feel sick to my stomach. I remember being scared to death of seeing Michael Myers. You'd flip over the VHS box and you'd see him stand there in a mask, and it creeped me the hell out. Then they had some movie called Friday the 13th. They had 8 of them there. I didn't know what the heck it was, but the guy in the hockey mask just looked absolutely disgusting. I would get sick to my stomach looking at him because he was just so gross to me. Now, I particularly remember seeing one called Jason Takes Manhattan, and I'd flip over the box, as grossed out and as scared as I was, and on the back of that VHS box art was a scene where Jason is reaching through the window of the ship and he's kind of grabbing Remy. I don't know if it's just his arm around her neck or his hand around her neck, but for some reason that absolutely grossed me out. I have no idea why, but my stomach would start churning, and yeah, so horror movies were not an option for me. I wanted absolutely nothing to do with them. I remember still living in Italy. We had a commercial on the one channel that we got. We only got one channel in Italy, and it was for Alien. They were going to show Alien late one night. I remember during that commercial, I turned my head. Not only did I turn my head, but I had my hands over my eyes like this. I wanted no part of it, man. Back then, as a kid, these horror creatures and these horror villains scared the living hell out of me. They were repulsive, they were disgusting looking, they were scary as hell. And I convinced myself, I had it in my mind that horror movies were the most evil, vile, disgusting, goriest things that I would ever have the displeasure of watching. And I decided that as long as I lived for the rest of my life, I would never watch a single horror movie. Ever. I wanted no part of it. Fast forward 3 years later, we moved back to the US. It's about 2:30, 3 in the morning. I've got my blanket fort going, man. I've got the blankets for my bed stretched out. I've got things on top of them to hold the tent up. I've got the TV and the dresser underneath the fort. Dude, I had it set up, man. This whole room was under freaking blankets. And I'm flipping through channels, and I come to USA, and I see this girl running through what looks like sewers or something. And then they show that guy. That same evil, disgusting looking guy in the hockey mask that I remember from the video rental place in Italy. It's him. Like that's the guy. That's him. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name, but that's him. From that Friday the 13th stuff. So curiosity got the better of me. I still to this day, I don't know why I didn't change the channel, because like I said, I wanted no part of horror movies, but for some reason I didn't change the channel. I was focused, I was hypnotized, man. I was like mesmerized. So I started watching, and he's walking her down in the sewer, and I'm thinking to myself, she's running and he's walking just as slow as can be, but yet he's still keeping up. That was weird. Which I would later find out was a staple of the Friday the 13th franchise in the later years. So we get to the point where Remy picks up the bucket of toxic waste, she throws it in Jason's face. Of course, I didn't know his name was Jason back then. He was just that guy in the hockey mask. He lets out this weird yell or scream. Like, I'd never heard anything like that before. Takes off his mask, and it's this purple face that's melting. And when I saw that, something happened. Something unexpected. Something miraculous. It's like the clouds in the sky parted. The light shone down from heaven right onto my TV. Oh! I wasn't repulsed. I wasn't disgusted, and I wasn't scared. I thought, man, it's pretty effing cool. So I watched the rest of the movie, which by that point it was like, 10, 15 minutes, if it was even that long. At the end of it, I knew it was Friday the 13th. I didn't remember it was Jason Takes Manhattan. So at the end of the movie, you find out it's Jason Takes Manhattan Part 8. So of course, I had to get my hands on it, man. Had to get my hands on it. I think a friend of mine actually had it on VHS. I asked him if I could borrow it. I watched it. And the rest is history, man. From that point on, I was a horror fan. I've never looked back since. So that's kind of like my history of horror movies. And Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, was the very first horror movie I ever watched. Out of all the horror movies that had been made by then, Jason Takes Manhattan was the first one I watched. And it's the one, Jason Takes Manhattan is the movie that got me into horror films. It made me a horror movie fan. As you can see, I've got the poster, I've got the shirt. I'm a huge nerd when it comes to Jason Takes Manhattan. I will defend it to the bitter end. But that movie is what got me started on my horror movie journey, what made me a fan, and I love it for that, man. The movie was not great by any means. But still, I love it. I absolutely love it. Was the storyline ridiculous? Absolutely. It was freaking ridiculous. You had Jason going to Manhattan, except he wasn't in Manhattan until like the last part of the movie, and it wasn't really Manhattan. So yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was fun. I mean, it was one of those horror movies that you don't expect anything groundbreaking. But watching it, I just remember being entertained, man. I was like, man, this is freaking cool. This dude, this guy in the hockey mask, this Jason Voorhees guy, is in Manhattan. And no one can stop him. That's freaking awesome, dude. I love it. The soundtrack was awesome as well. The Darkest Side of the Night has got to be the greatest horror movie song ever. To this day, one of my friends and I, when we're talking, one of us just randomly will burst out, "The darkest side of the night." And as you can tell, we can't sing, so it's horrible, but it is what it is. Yeah, so this is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's so fun, man. If it wasn't for Jason Takes Manhattan, I honestly don't know if I'd be a horror fan right now. I don't know if I'd be watching horror movies. There's a possibility I would, but it would have taken a lot longer for me to get into them, so Jason Takes Manhattan always holds a special place for me. It's also one of those movies where if I'm watching horror films and I get in a funk where I just watch bad horror movie after bad horror movie and they absolutely suck, and I get to the point where, man, I want to take a break from horror, I'll watch Jason Takes Manhattan and everything's fine. I'm good to go. But yeah, this is my favorite horror movie all time for the simple fact that it got me into horror movies. It made me realize that horror movies are not these evil, vile, disgusting movies that I thought they were. Nothing bad's gonna happen to me if I watch them. And it just made me realize that horror movies are fun, man. Horror movies are cool. And it got me involved in them. It got me involved in the horror film community, which I have to say, the horror community is one of the most chill, relaxed communities out there. You have a few bad apples, but nowhere near as as much as any other community. So I owe a lot to Jason Takes Manhattan, man. I really do. Like I said, I'll defend this movie to the bitter end. I know a lot of people take a huge, steamy pile of dookie on it. I love it, man. I love it. So that's it. It was my first horror movie I ever watched. It made me a horror fan. It got me into horror movies, and I absolutely love it for that. So that is why Jason Takes Manhattan will forever be my favorite horror movie of all time. That's it, plain and simple. And I promise you, this will be the last time I tell that story. I promise. You'll never see another video of me telling this story again. Take a deep breath of relief. It's over. So that being said, we're going to wrap it up today. What's today? Today is Wednesday. Saturday Night Horror, man. I'm ready for Saturday night. I got Alligator came in yesterday, so we'll be doing Alligator. Saturday Night Horror will be back. And without Jason Takes Manhattan, there'd be no Saturday Night Horror. I wouldn't have these horror movies up here on the wall. I owe a lot to it. So with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed listening to my story here. I hope y'all are having a great week. Hope y'all have an awesome weekend. And I will see you when I see you. Y'all take care.